Ghana's fisheries sector, a lifeline for many, is a realm of colorful boats bobbing in harmony with the tides. From sunrise to sunset, fishermen embark on journeys, casting their net into the embrace of the ocean, chasing whispers of silver fins beneath the surface. The fishing villages, each with its own tale, echo with the laughter of children playing by the shore. Women, the unsung heroines, gather on the sands, weaving nets and sharing stories that become the threads binding their community together.
What the One Ocean Hub seeks to do is that the Ghanaian marine environment is sustainably managed and protected, as stated in the SGD 14.2, and also the small fishing scale communities, their livelihoods, it's well supported with an improved well-being and also resilient to various external stresses, as stated in the SGD 8.3. Well, what we seek also to do, aside these long-term objectives, we have some proposed priorities to achieve these objectives. That means we tend to develop various strategies that we can help restore the small pelagic and other fish stocks within the ocean. We try to also support with some level of education and trying to let them understand the importance of alternative livelihoods and sustainable alternative livelihoods or supplementary livelihood.
The sea, once an abundant provider, now bears witness to the strain of overfishing and environmental changes. Professor Benjamin Kofi Nyakon is the country director of the One Ocean Hub and the head of department of the Department of Geography and Regional Planning at the University of Cape Coast.
Some of the activities include developing a geometa database for storing or one-stop shop where people can detect where they can find data. The other is organizing workshops for the fisher folks, and in the workshop we have what we call the pop-up law clinics, where the women are advised on legal related issues. We also have capacity building for students. Then the other point is developing decision support system that could help in the management of our artisanal fisheries or our fishery sector within the Ghanaian environment.
The One Ocean Hub has been advocating and empowering women over the period. The empowerment extends beyond rights and into economic realms. Initiatives promoting financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and access to credit enable women to cast economic nets, providing stability to their families and communities.
One Ocean Hub is looking at issues related to the marine, especially the fisheries. And this particular clinic that we are doing, or workshop, is about the fish processes. Mostly they are women. We have some few men who process the fish. But there are some human rights issues related to their work when it comes to fish processing. And so we've done it for other parts of the Ghanaian coast, the western region, central region, Volta region. We are now in Greater Accra. We are trying to listen to the women first, and then also educating them on issues of human rights that probably they face, but they don't know that these are concerning sometimes the loan issue, the abuse, this in their work, and also child trafficking.
Women and children are the ones whose voices are often excluded from the decision-making processes. However, they have essential knowledge and perspectives that can contribute to effective and sustainable development. But beyond knowing their rights, women are being prepared to take on leadership roles. Leadership training programs nurture a new generation of women leaders who can steer the ship of change within their communities. From advocating for sustainable fishing practices to participating in decision-making bodies, these women are becoming agents of positive transformation.
So I would say that the fishes are declining, mostly the small pelagic. We have different types of fishes in our waters, but most Ghanaians depend on the small pelagics. These are, in fact, we call it nkran-kram. I think Ghana to say nkran-kram, yeah. So the sardines, the anchovies, and the rest. The issue is people are over-exploiting these stocks. People are using methods that are not approved by the Ministry of Fisheries, and that is also causing these stocks to dwindle. And knowing very well that when it comes to small-scale fisheries, 10% of our population depend on small-scale fisheries. Either a processor, the fisherman who catches the fish, those who carry the fish to processing site, the carpenters, the lorry drivers, they are all part of the fishery. So 10% of our, let's say, 30 million population is about 3 million, which is a lot. So if you don't save the fish stocks now, then what is going to happen is that all these people are going to go out of business. They're going to go hungry. It's just livelihood issues. So the reason why the government is bringing in measures, and for instance, for now, we are trying to promote what is called co-management. The existing laws, the national laws are there for fisheries, and also the traditional laws. We have put them together, and we are involving the community to help save the stocks. And so we are doing our best as a state, but then the fishermen have to stop the illegalities.
Professor Joseph Agrifin is the head of the Fisheries and Aquatic Sciences Department at the University of Cape Coast and principal investigator with the One Ocean Hub project. He says over the period, a lot of work has been done to empower the fishing communities, especially the women.
Because whenever we do this workshop along the coast, the lawyers set up a desk for consultations and also hearing the women, and we always have interesting stories from them, and they get legal directions. Also, the women come out with other issues that probably we haven't even thought of, and whichever help and support that our project can give, we do.
As women are empowered, the impact ripples through entire communities. Social dynamics shifts, economic landscapes transform, and the sustainable practices advocated by these empowered women contribute to the overall health of coastal ecosystems.
We have the 4 regions, and all these 4 regions have been our focus in this research. But one distinct output from this research has to do with what you are asking about. Other research projects are also on these topics in other areas, but we have integrated something. As we mentioned, fishing is between men, women, and sometimes children. So women play a very key role as distributors. So they are quite involved in the small-scale fisheries sector. We have women known as fish mummies who own canoes and who even employ workers in terms of the men to fish for them and all these dimensions. But one innovation we came out with in this project has to do with the women workshop or women clinic. We started in the central region, specifically at Winneba. So we brought together, and our research also involved CSOs, as civil society organizations, but also NGOs. So as academics, we were interested in grassroots participation and approach to the study, and this is where the NGOs and then the civil society organizations come in. So in this workshop, we started at Winneba with women from the central region. So we picked them from different aspects of the region, and we involved the CSOs, but also the NGOs. So Henkwano and Takrade was key in this research. So we had a research finding, but we also wanted the grassroots participation. So we gave the leadership of this workshop to these NGOs. And Henkwano presented, environmental justice was there, and fisheries sector was there, human rights, Shraj was also there. So we brought all these people, and they picked different aspects of the issues and discussed with women.
The organization, as part of their support ecosystem, has been embarking on sensitization and educational drive along Ghana's fishing communities.
We also ensured, based on the grassroots participation, to use the local language. So it wasn't solely English. Sometimes we have interpretation. Other times we go straight to the local language in the particular region. So in Central region, we use Fante. In Volta region, we had Eve. In Takrady, we were also at Takrady for the Western region aspect of the workshop. Then we went to Tema for the Greater Accra aspect of the workshop. So we did all this workshop. We brought in women's groups and we shared our research findings with them. We also got presentations from the civil society organizations and NGOs regarding what is happening on the terrain. But the innovation has to do with, and this was picked from the first workshop at Winneba, because the first workshop we didn't have the legal clinic there. So subsequently, based on the lessons from the workshop, with the Keta one, which was the second one, we liaised with the department, the Faculty of Law, and we had some legal persons and graduate students from law who were with us. So as we are having the workshop, then we set aside the clinic, and then we gave the women the opportunity to share with the legal persons some of their human rights challenges, and then they got advice on how to. Those who were the issues that were beyond us, we sometimes refer them to legal aid, for example. So that has been quite an innovative aspect of our project because of the human rights dimension. Because at the end of the day, if you taught them this, that, the poverty issue came out strongly. And here we realized that some of the human rights abuses had to do with the fact that, in the exchange of the selling process, sometimes the person will come and take your product. Repayment becomes a problem. It becomes a conflict situation. It can end up with you losing your capital. There were a whole lot of issues there. So they were supported in how to manage some of these things. We also discovered issues of gender and sexual-based violence. There were a lot of people, in our local palace, we have this adage that "Akuko ba time member." So some men came across as being irresponsible. I said some, not all, as being irresponsible. So at the end of the day, the women were saddled or burdened with the care role of their children, or because the men weren't there. So how do you bring on board the men? Whilst we were giving them legal advice, we were also careful not to break homes, because that wasn't our motive. So this is where the sociocultural dimension comes in. So the contextual realities vis-a-vis the legal perspective and all these things came to bear as we went about these things.
From the Western, Central, Greater Accra to the Volta regions, the women are being taken through what their rights are. They have been sharing their experiences.
I think I learned a lot, and the one that I will share with you people is I've learned that I should do away with fear. Those days, there's a fear that there are particular work that women cannot do. But today, based on our learning and whatever they taught us, I've learned that there's nothing that I can't do. I can do as well as the men do, and I can even do it better.
The women who have been participating in the One Ocean Hub project say the project has been of immense support for the fishing communities, especially the women. Western Regional Secretary of NAFTA, Gertrude Cromwell, says they've had enormous experiences.
In general, I would say that this program has been of help to us, because at first we, the fisher folks, especially the women, we don't know some of the rights. So the men use that advantage to do something wrong against our work that we are doing with them. But when we came, we have realized that we have a right even to work. We have the right to cater for our children, both men and women, not necessarily the women alone. Because it's like in our coastal areas, the women are more in labor than the men. They sometimes see us that we are the mothers, so we should cater for our children. So even if we are tired, we don't see ourselves as tired people, but we just go ahead and work harder so that we can take care of the kids. But we have learned a lot that we have a right that even if we are mothers, it doesn't mean we are only taking care of the kids. We work in hand with the men, so that we can help our children, their future, and the betterment of our children.
The community leaders epitomize the strength of women in decision-making processes, from advocating for sustainable practices to participating in local governance. Gertrude's story underscores the pivotal role women play in shaping the destiny of their communities. In many coastal regions, women have long been the silent stewards of their communities, intricately connected to the ebb and flow of daily life. However, their voices often remained unheard in the corridors of decision-making. The empowering journey begins by breaking through these waves of silence, offering women the knowledge and tools to understand their rights.
And the One Ocean Hub is a research program for development, which is sponsored or financed by the Global Challenges Research Fund of the United Kingdom government. Now, this project, which is a 5-year project, is running across 3 countries in Africa, namely Ghana, Namibia, as well as South Africa. We also have partners in the Pacific, and of course, our lead university is in the United Kingdom, the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow. In Ghana, the University of Cape Coast is the lead partner, doing most of the research, but we have a range of civil society partners as well, including Empoano, who have assisted in organizing today's program, as well as Asasipa Foundation.
Dr. Bolanle Erinosho is the co-director of the One Ocean Hub in Ghana.
One Ocean Hub was set up primarily to tackle what we call intractable ocean challenges. We aim to produce research across disciplines, connect stakeholders across spaces, so stakeholders at community levels, at national levels, and international levels, and across the various disciplines that tackle ocean challenges in one coherent and consistent message to essentially deal with the many problems that the ocean has. In Ghana in particular, one of the biggest problems we have is fisheries, sustainable management or sustainable utilization of our fisheries. It's perhaps well known to most of your viewers that Ghana's fisheries has witnessed very rapid decline over the last couple of years. And so significant effort is being directed towards ensuring that going forward, the fisheries are managed in a sustainable manner. And so we provide research that supports sustainable utilization of fisheries, but we also provide research that supports the communities that rely on those resources. Because in the discussion of sustainable utilization, we cannot forget that vast majorities of Ghanaians, small-scale fishers, are reliant on this resource for their livelihoods, and their identities, their culture, and their tradition is primarily tied to it. And so any decisions that affect the fish stocks will ultimately affect them. And so one of our aims is to support those communities to amplify their voices in decision making around the fishery space. And so we not only collaborate with those communities, but we support them in spaces where decisions are made, and those decision spaces include national spaces as well as international spaces where decisions around our fisheries resources as well as our ocean is made.
As the illegal mining scars the ocean floor, she advocates for sustainable fishing practices, weaving together traditional knowledge and modern solutions.
Small-scale fishery women in Ghana are very important contributors to the fisheries value chain. They contribute at the pre-harvest and the post-harvest sectors. And so they're very, very significant contributors. However, one of the things we have noticed in the past was that in spite of the enormous contributions they make, they have often been excluded from fisheries decision-making.
Fisheries advocates enumerate some of the challenges and how this project has been able to impact positively in the various fishing communities.
We are expecting that by every quarter of the year, we harvest catfish, or tilapia, where women can get into processing them. And as we get success, we'll also try processing of other species of fish to improve, so that women will not be so much dependent on only the stock from the sea, but also they can get stock from elsewhere that we can process to improve their markets.
Sule Ibrahim is a research fellow with the One Ocean Hub project. He reveals some of the things they have done to support the fishing communities.
Our activities are quite wide-ranging, but we try to thematize them. So we have those that are on the research, where we engage in field work and the analysis of the data that we gather from the field, and we also engage in publication. Whatever find that we have, we publish in scientific journals, and also policy briefs and all that. And besides that, we also have policy change engagement workshops, where the finding that we get, we turn it around to engage with policymakers in terms of what can we all put together and then see how we can address the problem. So we engage with policymakers at the top and also at the bottom. At the bottom, I mean the fishers themselves, in terms of those who go to the sea to fish and those who process the fishes, like the fish processor, we talk about the women. And the policy level, we talk about government offices. Recently, we had the engagement with the Parliamentary Select Committee on Food and Agriculture and then fisheries as well.
The research fellow says there are many interventions that have been put in place to support the women.
The women in particular, that's quite a challenging area, I must say, because if you look at their activity, they are key stakeholders in the fishery business. Because before the fisherman will go to the sea, some of the women will play a role in terms of the vessel some of them own the vessels, or some of them supplying food or fuel, getting money for the fishers to go to the sea. So when it's more like they control some of the economic activities at the pre-fishing stage, it's all going to the sea that they are not part of. But when you go to the sea, then you come back with the fishes, it's their responsibility to process it. But the challenge they face is this economic might is not translated enough into the governance sector. So we ask ourselves, do you actually know that you have this economic power, and if you know, what can you do with it? So we're trying to engage in the empowerment workshops, giving them the knowledge in terms of knowing that I have this economic power, and then what can I do with it in terms of influencing policy. So when we organize policy change engagement, we normally have a table with lawyers or legal experts. Some of the peculiar challenges in terms of debt, so we give your money to if somebody goes to the fish, doesn't bring the fish, doesn't bring the money, what would you do? Or somebody, this kind of issue of child labor, sex for fish and all those things, what can they do with it? So we have that kind of table for them to kind of give the advice. Those that we can find a way to handle, we will let them know. Those that we cannot handle, we will let them know where they can take it to, especially when it comes to Ghana Legal Aid Scheme, that we encourage them also to take advantage of some of these things. And we also leave around leaflets, so about the ideas of how things will go. We're trying to translate them into the local languages and give to them. But we are engaging them directly, but also we engage the policymakers with the plight of the women, so that at least it will sink into the minds of policymakers that, okay, if you are coming out with a policy that affects the fisheries, not only the fishermen that you consult, you have to also consult the fisherwomen and see their respective challenges and what we can take forward from there.
In coastal communities across Ghana, the rising tide of empowerment is evident by supporting women to know their rights and encouraging their active participation in decision making.
We have developed a geometa database, a one-stop shop where people could look out for different environmental data, who has it. The geometa database is just to give you information about who has what data, because we don't have a system in Ghana where you could go in and find out who has the data, because we have data scattered all over the country. So with the geometa database, you'll be able to determine who has the data and the various conditions under which you could use the data. And it's quite important. We also have developed a stock assessment model where different stocks of fish could be analyzed for decision making.
The One Ocean Hub is not just changing the narrative, they are crafting a more inclusive and sustainable future. The waves of change have begun, and the empowered women of the coast are steering their communities towards brighter horizons.